With this video, I want to show how you can add different fonts and make the text on your page look a little more interesting. As you can see here, I have a interesting font for my CSIS 132 logo. All the rest is pretty much plain old text. So I have this file. It's called index.html. It's opened up here in Aptana Studio, and you can see that what that logo is, in that nice font, is actually a logo called logo.png. And so if I move this aside a little bit, what logo.png is actually is just that. It's something I made through that site, CoolText. So CoolText is a very nice way to create logos. But let's see how to do it with what we call Google Fonts. And so I'm going to bring this page back over. And what I want to do is, okay, rather than this, and you can also see for every chapter, it looks darker. For the chapters, what I've done is simply call them an H2. For instance, chapter 2 is H2, chapter 4. I've just put H2s around them. So each chapter has an H2 and there's logo. So what I'm going to do is two things. I'm going to go ahead and right underneath the logo, I'm just going to put in a H1, and I'm going to call that CSIS 132. It's going to look pretty boring. It is going to be a little larger. And so you see, I just have some plain old text. This is the same style. This is just a little bit bigger than this, not a whole lot. And let's see what we can do to make this look a little nicer. Well, one of the nice ways you can get interesting fonts is through something called Google Fonts. If I go to Google Fonts, Google has a site that is very, very cool. And through Google Fonts, you can say, I want to look for serif or sans serif. Right now, it's looking at all of them. I'm just going to look at handwriting styles for now. So I'll turn off the other ones. Now, this is going to show me a bunch of handwriting style fonts. Okay, so I'm going to pick one from my H1 and maybe a different one from my H2. So you can scroll through and see there's a whole bunch of different fonts. There's literally, I don't know how many, but there are so many. This is sorted by the most popular. So let's say I want this one here. Grumpy Wizards make, it's the same text. This one is called Kaushan Script. If I like this one, well, I can simply click this and say quick use, and it'll look like this. Okay, not bad. What I do is there's a piece of code you add to your website, and this will link from my website. We add this. It says to embed this, copy this as the first element in the head section. So I'm just going to right click, copy this, and this is how I put the font in my CSS down below. I'll do that next. Okay, so let's see. The first element in the head section. In my head section, it really doesn't matter as long as it's before your CSS. Control V. So I pasted that in there, and it's called Kaushan Script. That's the name of this one. So come back to here. Now they say include this. So let's see, where do I want to put this? Maybe I'll do this for all my H2s. I'm going to make all my H2s. Well, we'll start off with the H1. I simply will make my H1, and I'm going to say, well, I'll just copy it in there. Control V. Font family, Kaushan Script for my H1. File, save. Let's look at it. So it's a little different. You see, it was just this boring one down here, so it's a little different, a little nicer. Maybe I'll center that and make it a little bit bigger. How about that? So that's in my H1, and now I'll say text align, center, and I'll say text size, text size, and I'll make that, or is it font size? I think it's font size. Font size, and I'll make it something big, like 500%. So I've got it centered and bigger. That's big and centered. So now, if that's what I liked, I could take out my logo and it would look pretty nice. So I have a nice, using just simply CSS. Now let's do something for my chapter 2. I mean, for my heading 2s. Well, what I could come in here and I could just say the same thing for H2s. I could simply use the same one, H2, and say, well, the same thing. I'll just take this one, copy, Kaoshan script. Now you see my H1s and my H2s all have a totally different look to them than they were before. That's how you do it. You simply go to Google Fonts, you pick the style you want. I can just change it in seconds. I could pick something completely different. I pick a different style, you would add it, copy this, paste it in the head section, take this and apply it to your text. So that's what I really wanted to show here, was how you could simply change the fonts. And if I wanted to do it to a paragraph, which it's not really what I wanted to do, but I could, paragraph, and do the same thing. Font family. Again, if I want to have multiple, I would simply have multiple lines. I'd pick a second one and a third one, and I could use whatever font. I could use it for a paragraph or H2 or links. Now all my text has a different look to it. And if that's what I really liked, and I didn't want this logo anymore, I could take out my logo, cut it, file, save, and I have a completely different looking page right now. So that's showing how to include Google Fonts, and hopefully you'll use some of these Google Fonts to spice up the look of your page. Okay, this gives you pretty much an unlimited choice of fonts, and anybody using the web page will be on the internet and they can have access to that font. Okay, I'm going to say bye for now.